All right, so this section is the remainder and factor theorem together, and it's finding zeros of a polynomial function. So on the last set of notes, the day one of the factor theorem, it was just factor the polynomial completely. Now it's find the zeros. So you are going to have to solve it by setting each factor equal to 0 and solving. So finding the zeros of a polynomial function, first step is use synthetic division and the given 0 to factor the polynomial completely, and then use the zero product property to solve for the rest of the zeros. All right, so given that -5 is a 0, find the remaining zeros. So we are going to start by synthetically dividing by -5 because we know x plus 5 is a factor. And our coefficients are 1, 6, 3, and -10. All right, so we're going to drop the 1, multiply that's -5, add that's 1, multiply that's -5, add that's -2, multiply that's 10, add that 0. So right now, what we have it factored to is f of x equals, our first factor, since -5 is a 0, is x plus 5. And then remember, this started off as a cube, so this is a square, that's linear, and then there's our constant. So we have x squared plus x minus 2. All right, so now, like yesterday's, or the day before, I should say, notes, that needs to be factored. So you have f of x equals x plus 5 times two numbers that multiply to give you -2 and add to give you 1 are 2 and -1. Lead coefficient is 1. This is an x. This is an x. So that's x plus 2 and x minus 1. So now if you look at the directions, it says, not the directions, but if you look at the problem, it says find the remaining zeros. So this gives us a 0 of -5, which was already given to us. So we're not going to include it in our solution sets. But the other two gives us the zeros of x equals -2 and x equals 1. So if you look at if you read the directions carefully, if it doesn't say factor and find the remaining zeros, really what you can do is once you get this, you can just factor that and set it equal to 0 and solve. So that's what I'll do if that's what the directions say. All right, so example 2, given 4 is a 0, find the remaining zeros. So this is what I mean by it. So we're going to use the 0 of 4. Coefficients are 2, 3, -39, and -20. I'm going to drop the 2, multiply that's 8, add that's 11, multiply that's 44, excuse me, add that's 5, multiply that's 20, add that's 0. So I don't have to factor it too. So I'm not going to write the x minus 4 times 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. Instead, I'm going to write the 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. And I have to solve this. So I do have to factor it, but I don't have to write the other factor and all that other stuff. So I'm going to set it equal to 0 and solve. Look for a GCF first. There isn't one. It's 3 terms. So I'm going to use my organizational x. A times C is 10, B is 11. Those two numbers are 10 times 1. Now I need to divide by the lead coefficient of 2. This first fraction here is simplifiable. It simplifies to 5 over 1. And since that's an x squared, this is an x and an x. So I have two other factors, x plus 5 and 2x plus 1. And now I can use the zero product property to solve each one. This one gives me x equals -5, and this one gives me x equals -1/2. All right, I'll show you one more just to make sure you're okay, and then if you look at what's after this, it's just more practice, so you can find them, you can try it yourself. All right, I'll talk about the page, but I'm not going to do them, but you can try it. All right, given that -2 is a 0, find the remaining zeros. So coefficients are 1, -5, -2, and 24. Drop the 1, multiply that's -2, add that's -7. Multiply that's 14, add that's 12. Multiply that's -24, add that's 0. This was a cube, so this is a square, this is linear. So I have x squared minus 7x plus 12 equals 0. And now I can factor this and solve this. Two numbers that multiply to give me 12 and add to give me -7, -4, and -3. Divide by the lead coefficient, x minus 4 times x minus 3 equals 0. So 2 additional solutions, x equals 4, x equals 3. Notice it says the remaining zeros, so I'm not including negative 2 as a 0. This says the remaining zeros, so I'm not including 4 as a 0. Okay, so you can try this partners check if you want, or you can move directly onto the homework. This one's done just like the ones that we were doing, given that 4 is a 0. So you would start with 4, factor what's left over. Start with 10, factor what's left over. This says find all the solutions. So that means that you have to solve it. I wasn't given a 0, so we're not going to do it the same way. So this one you'd say, okay, there's 3 terms. It's already equal to 0. Is there a GCF? No. But it's 3 terms, organizational X. Here, I wasn't given any zeros. It's 2 terms. I look for a GCF. There is a GCF of 2x. I factor it out. That's 81 equals 0. Keep factoring. Set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So this is just more mixed practice here. You can go ahead and try those yourself.